Johnny Gargano, and you're listening to the Turnbuckle Tavern Podcast.
It's Wednesday night, and you know what that means. It's time for the All Elite Wrap-Up Show, guys. It's me, the OG Fit Kid, Thomas Montalto. Mike Belcaster not here tonight, but this guy's here.
The ace of the tavern, Stephen ACEFIELD. It's Shark Week, man. Blood in the water. Let's talk about Eddie Kingston, Chris Jericho, baby.
Yeah, man. It was an episode of Dynamite tonight for sure. But let's just... Before we get that, let's just show you guys, you know where to go to plug the tavern, right? There we go. The turnbuckletavern.com. You get all the links there. Follow, like, subscribe to us everywhere you possibly can. Please leave reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And when you're done there, head on over to, or you call the tavern, 304-404-2004. Let us know what you thought of the wrap-up. Let us know about what you think of the tavern, anything you want to see. We're here. You could call us. Your message might get played on the flagship show, or maybe we'll even bring it to this show if you mention a wrap-up show. So what's up, Mr. ACEFIELD? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, man. I'm running the marathon this week. I was on the debate on the fucking GCW show return on Tuesday. We also have the Honor Society tomorrow. We got Shot Nostalgia Friday. And, of course, smack dab in the middle of the week, one of my favorite times of the week, Wednesday night with you talking about AEW Dynamite. An episode to be remembered. Let's just say that.
Yes, there's definitely an episode to be remembered. I definitely don't disagree there. But I guess it's time to talk about the news.
Let's fucking go.
Let's go. We got the AEW wrap-up news, and of course, I was combing everywhere for the updated news for you guys. So let's start with, I would say, the biggest news story of the week. We have an updated report about Kenny Omega potentially returning to the ring, and it's on the horizon. So on the card right now, potentially for All Out, would be Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks Trios match, reportedly targeted for AEW All Out. Obviously, we know that's September in Chicago. So Fightful reported the news Tuesday, following up on a Dave Meltzer, my friend Dave Meltzer, during a recent Wrestling Observer Radio, that a third meeting between FTR and the Young Bucks is being held off due to a major angle that has yet to begin. The plans right now, according to Fightful, are that Omega would team with the Bucks in a trios match at the September pay-per-view. Opponents weren't mentioned, but there's speculations it could be against current stablemates Adam Cole and Red Dragon. So I ask you, my friend Thomas Montalto, how you feeling about that?
I mean, I want Omega back, so I would love the idea of a feud of seeing those guys go at it. I think, like, I don't know, it's mixed. It's a mixed bag of nuts for me.
Do you potentially see the trios titles being introduced and decided here on this pay-per-view, or is it too soon to be doing that?
I think we need a tournament for it, don't you? I mean, I love tournaments.
We've had a lot of tournaments. I know we had the tournament for the Owen Hart title. We had the mini tournament for the All Atlantic Championship.
Yeah, that wasn't really a tournament. That was more like qualifying matches to get into the four-way.
It was a tournament of Jace, but I agree with you. It wasn't the full long tournament you usually get. I would be all in for a one-night tournament. Let's do one night.
Dude, I miss one-night tournaments like WrestleMania 4. Like
Survivor Series 1998 as well.
Yeah, I missed the original King of the Rings were one-night tournaments back when Junkyard Dog won it and everything. I want a one-night tournament at some point. Like I thought the Owen Cup would have been perfect for that, to bring something back like that. But I'm here for one-night tournaments. Trios titles, they've built a division. I have no problem with it. But then just calm down with the titles after that.
Maybe it's a way to introduce Kenny Omega back into the fold by easing him in to work, by working a trios tag match.
It's not
he's going to go all out, pun completely intended, in September, because he's going to want to show off what everybody's been missing. But, you know, like I just worry about all those health issues that have been looming. You know, he teased potentially, if he didn't get better anytime soon, that retirement could be on the horizon. That might have just been him being frustrated, but
yeah,
that was scary. It was the first time I thought about that. It's very scary. But we'll see what happens. Obviously, Omega has been out since last November's Full Gear. We have not seen him. So, you know, at the same time, you know, we want to see him back. But before we continue the news, I know we have a big announcement at the top of the show we wanted to make that we did not. So, Tom, if you want to just put a pause in the news.
Yeah, well, it's kind of news. It's news for the tavern, you guys. If you are a wrestling figure collector, we have a big contest going on right about now. you could win the Kenny Omega AEW shop exclusive. All you have to do is watch this show on Twitch and comment from your Twitch account. Once you do that, you automatically get an entry into our contest. For every show you watch on Twitch between now and August 2nd, you'll get an entry to the contest. So you could rack up a bunch of entries between now and August 2nd by watching all of our shows on Twitch, commenting, and everyone you do, you get another entry. And not only are you getting this figure, but me and Mike are going to put together a nice little prize packet to go with it. You'll get some stickers and a bunch of stuff. So, guys, go head over to twitch.tv/Turnbuckle Tavern. Watch us there. Follow us there. And you could win a Kenny Omega AEW shop exclusive, which right now on eBay going for well over $100. So
that's a deal and a half, guys. And we got the dude for the thing. He's already entered. Easy enough. He's in.
He's in. That's it. That's how you enter.
So, dude from the thing, you get one entry in here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for following the Turnbuckle Tavern. So, you guys, we got Joshua in here as well. So, you guys are getting a lot of entries. We're keeping track. August 2nd, like Tom mentioned, we will draw the winner, and you guys will have that figure being delivered straight to your door.
That's it. You'll receive it within a week. We'll announce it. We're going to spin the wheel live on Fig Night on August 2nd. I'll ship it the next day. You can't ask for more than that. So you'll have it very, very fast.
All right. Continuing the news. We put the bookmark in it, lifting the page, and here we go again. AEW's Tony Khan is high on the idea of the new Trustbusters trio. So the new heel group might be tabbed for AEW or Ring of Honor. So this debut happened, and you guys might have missed it on Saturday's AEW Dark tapings in Orlando. The Trustbusters may be around to stay either in AEW or Ring of Honor. The group is made up of Arya Daivari, going by Ari, former Ring of Honor wrestler Slim J, and former WWE NXT wrestler Parker Bordeaux. So we saw that Parker was just recently released from his NXT contract. He was we just heard him on the Raw Down. They were talking about him as potentially being one of those guys tabbed as the future, and he's been drawing comparisons to Brock Lesnar. There were some memes going around. I'm not sure if you saw them, Tom, but It was like an upward picture of them on the ramp and says, "I'm telling my friends this is Seth Rollins, Brock Lesnar, and Steve-O from Jackass." So go back and find that picture. But, I don't know. I mean, Tony Khan's high on the idea of keeping them around. I see them in Ring of Honor more so than AEW.
Yeah, I'm excited. We talked about this a little bit on a debate show today that's coming out Monday for Ring of Honor to really get going and see the roster split up a little bit. See some of these guys that are not being utilized in AEW that are going to get to shine over there. I think it's exciting times.
Yeah, so we're going to be obviously previewing all of Death Before Dishonor tomorrow, Thursday, 7 p.m., right here on the Turnbuckle Tavern. Honor Society is making its return. We're going to run down the card at the end of this segment, as I usually do for the upcoming events, so stay tuned for that. But, we may be seeing the Trustbusters trio more often. We may see them debut on Dynamite, but they will be debuting on that AEW Dark episode that will air next week. So keep a lookout for them. It's a decent group of guys that have some history in the wrestling world recently. Moving on in the news, we have Andrade is officially hurt. So he's been off TV for a bit, more specifically out of action. He did clarify that he's out of action due to ankle inflammation. So this was confirmed by Tony Khan, who was answering a fan's question on Twitter. This was about 2 days ago. And they asked why he hasn't been wrestling recently. Tony Khan said Andrade was hurt in his singles match against Rey Fenix on Friday, June 24th in the Rampage episode. So feelings on Andrade. I know there was a big announcement that he's teaming with Ric Flair in his last match. So give me a little roundabout opinion on what's going on with Andrade.
Oh man, this is confusing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
One company's saying he's injured, and now, like in 2 weeks, he's fighting with his father-in-law. Man, I just don't know how unhappy Andrade is in AEW. Is he happy? Is he unhappy? He hasn't been booked any better than he was in WWE. If anything, he's been worse. We got Austin making a running. What's up, Austin?
Austin,
you can win an AEW shop exclusive if you watch us on Twitch. Just letting you know. Man, I just have a feeling we're going to see Andrade back in WWE before you know it. I don't know if I'm crazy, but sometimes you get a gut feeling and you don't know why.
Oh, I hear you.
And it happens. I think that it's going to happen. And this time around, I think he'd get pushed big time. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Andrade, I think we probably expected more from him. When he debuted in AEW, we saw glimpses prior to being released or deciding to leave. I forget what the actual move was. I think he decided to leave, whatever it was. When he was NXT champion, he felt like he was the next coming of Eddie Guerrero or, I mean, the next big lucha style main eventer. And it just has fallen flat here in AEW. And it's been booking that's akin to the worst booking you could probably imagine for him. I know the Matt Hardy stuff was just anything you could have imagined that has gone bad for Andrade. It's happened for him. It's like Murphy's Law. He's getting hurt. He's involved in shitty storylines. He's being not showcased in the way he probably thought he was. So yeah, I would say he's unhappy.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, it's a shame because he came in and his character in AEW had this aura that was so cool. Kind of felt like a mafia mob boss or something. He's been through how many people managing him or assisting him between Vicky and Chavo, and it's just he's not catching his footing here, and they're not seeming to fix him at all. So now they brought in Roosh. I don't know what's happening with that. I know he's not under contract. He's only on a per appearance basis. So I don't know if they're planning on building that more. It's just so confusing. The guy is so talented in a ring, and AEW, we get to see these guys shine in a ring. But I just feel like he was in the match when it was Cody and Pac versus it was versus Andrade and
Sammy was in the match.
No, Malachi.
Oh, Malachi, that match.
And like Andrade was the guy who took the fall in that match. It felt like he's always been used as that guy to like take the fall when they needed somebody to take the fall. He hasn't gotten a big win there. It's just a shame. So.
Something's missing from the presentation here, and I love everything that's going on with him. I like the mask when he comes out. Yeah. I did enjoy the pairing of Chavo Guerrero, but you nailed it. I mean, something is just missing. He feels like he's being presented in a way that's minor compared to every other character, and it reminds me a lot of Miro when Miro first came in, and Miro was presented as that video game best man guy, and then it turned for the better. It feels like the tide hasn't turned quite yet for Andrade, and when's the time for him? The roster keeps getting more and more filled with guys that are going to be asking for big pushes, and Andrade seems to be getting pushed down the card. And when's his time? And I don't see it anytime soon.
I don't see it either. So I don't know how long his contract is for, but it'll be curious to see what happens in the coming weeks, especially now with that tag team match coming up. If he's going to be working there and then they're going to say he's injured, none of it adds up. Nothing adds up here. So,
well, put it this way: before we move on from Andrade, I'd rather take Andrade with ankle inflammation than Ric Flair at all in a ring. So, I think Andrade is going to do just fine. But that's the weird. I mean, we touched on it briefly, but if you guys didn't hear, and I'm sure you did, Andrade and Ric Flair teaming against Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal in Nashville. Jim Crockett Promotions at the StarCast event being put on by Conrad Thompson. What were your thoughts on that match when it was announced? And do you have any interest in seeing Flair wrestle in this match here in Nashville?
This is exactly the type of match I was expecting them to announce. I'm not really shocked by this at all. I said Jay Lethal's going to be involved in it from the beginning. I thought that was going to be it. It makes sense. Andrade is going to be it. He's his son-in-law. It makes sense for them to be teaming. The Jeff Jarrett thing is kind of like, okay, I don't know where that came from, but I'm fine with it. Am I going to pay for this match? No, but am I curious to see it? Yeah, I'll probably go back and find it on the internet after. It's one of those things that I'm not going to pay for, so I don't mind going back to watch and take a sneak peek, but I don't, it's so funny. People criticize Steve Austin when he came back for WrestleMania, but like more people seem to be excited about Ric Flair's last match than they were about seeing Austin come back. And that just boggles my mind.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those times where I don't know, like I'm torn, and not that we want to sit here and break down the Ric Flair match, because that's not what this show's about. But I think now more than ever, it's time to talk about it because it was just announced. I think Ric Flair had the perfect storybook ending with Shawn Michaels. And once that was pulled out from under him and he decided to come back in all those matches in TNA and bleeding like a stuffed pig against Hulk Hogan and that disaster of a match, he's getting the ending the better ending than his career could have asked for. I mean, the Shawn Michaels thing was perfect if you would have ended it at WrestleMania 24. Yeah. But if you take that and say, you know what, that's not the end, I'd rather this be the end than an Impact match. And I just hope he's okay. I hope everything goes to plan, that he's going to be.
The dude's in phenomenal shape. Like, to me, he looks like he's in better shape than I ever remember him wrestling in, which is crazy.
just the pacemaker stuff really scares me. You shouldn't be
Yeah.
wrestling and doing that kind of. Who am I to say that the
Yeah,
guy
like,
wants to
who
do it?
knows? Who knows what his doctors have said? And like Ric Flair has said, he's going out one or two ways: in the ring or on top of Wendy. So here's his chance to go out in the ring, and we know he's back with Wendy. So
Wendy or some other girls, and it doesn't matter what the girl. Well, he said it multiple times.
Yeah.
Insert wife here.
yes,
But all right, so let's move on from this, and you guys can stay tuned to the Tavern. We will probably be doing a live reaction to that match here. Stay tuned for any sort of update. Also on the Turnbuckle Tavern Instagram page. So, another thing in the news: Jim Ross's AEW schedule changes made to give Dynamite and Rampage a boost. So there's been some talk about why Jim Ross is only doing the last hour. Is he being phased out? Tony Khan had said, absolutely not. That's not the reason why. He's trying to give a ratings boost for the second hour. So I was getting Nitro vibes to this because, full disclosure, Mike Belcaster and I are watching WCW Nitro 1996, and that's what they do. They split up the announce team in 2 different hours. I'll give you the quote from Jim Ross, and I'll let you comment on it.
all right.
So he said, I didn't have any issues with it at all. I'm now Mariano Rivera. I'm going in for a long relief, and we're going to get results for you. That's the deal there. They're just keeping me fresh and special and trying to give Rampage a little boost commentary-wise, selling-wise. So we need to obviously get the ratings up, which I think we are, and that's the reason for that. No problem with me whatsoever. I get more exposure than I did before because I wasn't on Rampage. Is this much to do about nothing, or do you think he's actually being phased out?
I don't think he's being phased out, especially we've seen him like first it felt kind of weird having him just coming in for the second hour and then going on Rampage. And still, if you want him on Rampage, just let him do all 3 hours. I have zero issues with that. I don't think he feels any more special because he's doing a second hour of Dynamite and then Rampage. Let the dude do all 3 hours. The guy's battery seems like they're rejuvenated. He's been firing on all cylinders lately. I know I don't like the mixing of the announcers. I'd rather have JR for the whole show if I could get JR for the whole show. I love that they've added Taz though to the booth. So, I don't really watch much Dark or Dark Elevation to get it, but Excalibur and Taz are great together. I know I don't know. I don't think they're phasing him out, but is really just putting Jim Ross on a Rampage going to bring the ratings up that much? Like that doesn't add up either to me.
Yeah, I mean, again, I said in the beginning of this, I believe this is Tony Khan being a WCW fan growing up, because this is straight out of the mid-90s Eric Bischoff mindset where you would switch Tony Schiavone and Larry Zbyszko for Bobby Heenan and who else, so it's one of those things, switching it up, making the 2 hours feel distinctly different, making Rampage feel different. And I think there's some truth into saying you want it to feel special. Jim Ross gets an entrance. He gets a pop when his music hits. So there's something to be said for that, to make it feel it's time for the main event. It's time for the bigger feel matches. But, I'm hoping they're not phasing him out, because I do think there's a lot more for him to give to the Dynamite product. And a lot was being said for him when he was commentating with Kevin Kelly at New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he didn't have a grasp on the names. He was botching moves. And go back to the beginning of him here in AEW. He was calling AEW WWE. He was messing up people's names. He was calling Jake Hager, Jack Swagger, like all the things you could have gotten wrong. He did, but I think he's in a rhythm now. And I think he's been great the last couple of months, I would say. And I would hate to see him go away full time as being in the announcer, because personally, he's the voice of my childhood.
I agree. I definitely agree. So.
All right. So moving on here in the news, we have Adam Cole will not be having surgery to repair a torn labrum. So we saw in the news, Adam Cole's been out of action for quite some time, specifically since Forbidden Door with that crazy concussion that he suffered, which altered the ending of that title match with Okada and Jay White. So he has a torn labrum as well, which was revealed. And they had said specifically it was a shoulder injury, but then we got more information that he needed surgery, but he's opting not to have it because he can come back quicker if he's doing therapy for it. So the time frame for his return is based more on the recovery from the concussion at this point. So they're worried about what's going on in his noggin, because he was pretty messed up. I mean, we saw that was a scary moment at Forbidden Door. Adam Cole's been gone for a bit. Have you been missing him, Tom?
No, I think he needed this break. Honestly, I think it would be better for him to go and get the surgery, get the labrum fixed the right way. Come back clean, refresh, let people forget your initial run, come back stronger. Like say, sometimes injuries are a blessing. you get off TV, out of sight, out of mind. You come back even stronger than you were. Like, you think of Triple H, he was out, made that epic return at Madison Square Garden. You get a new appreciation. I think that, unfortunately, AEW has a lot of injuries now. So, but it freshens things up, and I think being freshened up from Adam Cole right now is not a bad thing.
He's been stuck in the mud booking wise for sure. He hasn't really gotten off the ground.
He's in the school with Andrade. He's in the same class.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. And I don't know, maybe it's something to do with the fact that they're just rehashing old storylines with the Undisputed Era and he's not coming into his own. My thing about his booking was the fact that he was being presented as Jay White's lackey and being presented as weaker than Jay White and just a kind of a joke character during that little stint there, building up the feud. And if you're a casual fan watching, why would you take him seriously if you're making him look like Jay White's not taking him seriously? So he's the champ. He's not taking Adam Cole seriously. It's not a good look for them.
I don't disagree at all. Listen, you know what would be the ultimate thing for them to do if that 6-way match happens? You have it so it looks like you have the two teams aligned. You have the Undisputed Era, or whatever they call them here, Undisputed Elite.
Yep.
And you go against the Bucks and Omega, and you have the Page take the loss. He gets pinned. And then you have Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly turn on him. Let him go off on his own and be separated from everybody. I think that's what he needs right now.
Yeah, and I think the trios titles would be huge for him as well if you want to go a different direction, not do the breakup. I think they've been destined to have this match, the Undisputed Elite versus Kenny Omega and the Bucks. This has been written on the wall, and I think the fact that Kenny got hurt, they abbreviated the timeline a little bit, and they wanted to wait until getting Kenny back to do the trios titles, because I think those titles would have been here. I know they're made, they're ready, they're in a Jacksonville office somewhere waiting to be unveiled to the public, but I think that's what they're waiting for. And I think, like you said, I think absence makes the heart grow fonder. And right now, Adam Cole being gone is probably a good thing for him.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. It's definitely not a bad thing.
That's as DDP would say in 2002. That's
Anakin Skywalker in the house on Twitch. Thank you, buddy. So
all right, so we got a good quote, good comment in here, and this is said by Doombot49. The only good out of these injuries is TV time being given to other wrestlers. Not saying injuries are a good thing, of course. Yeah,
he's 100% correct. How many times do we see an injury forcing other people to step up and become a star out of it? Again, the biggest thing you could talk about, I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, I think on Sessions, Wally Pipp got hurt for the New York Yankees and never got his job back when Lou Gehrig took his spot. So
100% true.
If you're any other wrestler in this league, you step up, man. Don't lose your spot. You grab it and you run. That's what happens. You get opportunities when people are injured. Injuries do suck. They do, but man, make the most out of it. Take that TV time that you might have not gotten and prove to them why you should keep it.
Absolutely. I still think about Billy Gunn back in 1999. They were trying to push him to the main event. He got hurt. And I'm not saying I wanted Billy Gunn to be world champion, but Vince Russo wanted him to be world champion. He might have been if he didn't get hurt.
Yeah.
But good point, Doombot49. Thank you for watching, and thank you for commenting. I have more comments in the chat if you guys have anything to say about the news. But moving on here with another injury to talk about. Matt Jackson suffered a stinger early in the Triple or Nothing tag team match where Keith Lee and Swerve won the tag team titles from the Young Bucks. The injury was about 4 minutes into the match, and we were told it was a basic spot where Hobbs and Lee gave him a double vertical suplex after he tried to do a Northern Lights suplex on two guys at once. The fact that those two guys are much bigger than him made the move go a little bit sideways. He suffered a stinger. Seems to be okay. We haven't seen the Bucks in action since. Obviously, it was last week, but they took the week off this week. But yeah, scary moment.
We, hopefully he gets better quickly, gets back in the ring, and it's nothing more serious than what it is.
My hope is that Kenny is on his way back. The Bucks just need to stay healthy. We need the three of them back together. That's when AEW is at its best.
Baby. I need more Don Callis on my TV.
Give me the four of them.
Yes, 100% agree.
All right, so we mentioned this on the show last week. It was alluded to with the tweets that Keith Lee was putting out prior to Dynamite last Wednesday. Allegedly, there's been more story to this. Keith Lee dedicated the tag title match to his friend and one of his closest friends who has stage 4 cancer. He didn't say that before the match, only that he was dedicating the match to his brother. So Meltzer said when he saw that, he figured they were winning because something different has happened in other companies, famously taking a little shot at WWE. And he said, I just couldn't see a babyface dedicated a match to a friend in trouble and then losing in AEW. After the match was over and the show ended, Lee did a very open and honest interview talking in more detail about it, being one of the three closest people in the world to him and pushing for him to fight as hard as he could. It was said to be very moving stuff. I did not see it myself.
I saw it.
You did see it?
Yeah, and I'll say this. Keith Lee needs to grab that mic and talk like that and not talk like what he did tonight on AEW, because he had the most charisma I've ever seen in him when he was speaking last week. Not that slow, boring stuff he tries to do on TV. It doesn't work, and I can't believe nobody said anything to him. Like he makes me want to fall asleep when he's cutting a promo on TV. So
this was done on the Fight TV feed. This was in the ring after the show.
AEW posted it up on Twitter.
Oh, they did. Great.
Or on a YouTube channel. I saw it. Yeah.
He also mentioned that he almost died. If you guys listen to the Talk is Jericho interview, he was very, very honest about his battle with COVID-19. And he kept it quiet throughout that whole time.
Yeah.
Because people didn't know what was going on. He was still signed with WWE. No one knew where he was. Why is he not on TV? The Bearcat thing was clearly failing. He was not a huge fan of what was going on as the booking was. WWE creative didn't know what to do with him. I'm glad things are working out for him. I'm a big Keith Lee fan. I know that someone here on the Tavern, it's not about the person, they're about the character and the performer. They're not a fan of him being in a big spot, but I think he proved a lot in that match last week, and they got a huge pop this week when they came out celebrating with the titles. And there's something to be said about that. The fans like to see Swerve and Lee together.
Yeah, I like Keith Lee, and it's just his promos that bore me. I love him in the ring. Guys, like, I loved when he got called up to the main roster in WWE, and then they dropped the ball with him and they started changing his style. It's what made Keith Lee what he was when they let him wrestle his style. It's just his promos that are like, why does he do that slow talk thing like that? Like, I just don't get it. And especially if you go back and you watched what he did last week after the match and he was being himself. It was so amazing. Like, you could see, like, this is the Keith Lee I need on my TV talking. So.
Yeah, he does that. I can't even explain it. A very classic, like, old English type of.
It just feels so monotone.
Like Shakespearean type of, like, using big words for no reason.
Yeah, but it's so monotone. It comes across monotone. It's just sad because he's better than that.
Yeah, and when you hear him in that Talk is Jericho, it's 2 hours of him talking with Chris Jericho, and it's very, very. You can't stop listening to it. So there's something to be said. Like, you want to hear him talk. It's about how it's presented.
Yeah.
And, you know, you mentioned before about how they dropped the ball in WWE with Keith Lee. I think about that Royal Rumble moment, face to face with Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar gave him the biggest rub by actually looking intimidated by him. And then they did nothing with him following that. I thought he was the next big thing. Pun completely intended about Lesnar. But
100%. When they brought him back after he was almost died, and that's when the Bearcat thing started, it's when you could tell they had no clue. It was like they brought him back only almost out of necessity. It felt like, oh, we have to bring him back because it was just terrible that last run in WWE. I'm glad they released him for his sake, so we didn't have to get stuck there. And it's again, this is where the changing of the guard comes in, because Vince is so out of touch with what's over, like things that were over in NXT that he just ruins on the main roster. I always say it, if it's not broke, don't fix it. You have things that are super popular in NXT and you change it when it gets to the main roster. This is what's going to make people watch your product when I see this get called up. Why would you change that? Why do you want to start from scratch on a national television service? Like, it just doesn't compute. You're in business to make money. You have something that's working. You don't change it. Like, this would be like the Yankees. Oh, Aaron Judge is having an awesome year in the outfield. Let's just sit him because we don't know what to do with him. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Change his position because why not?
Yep.
He would look great at second base.
Right.
Like, you know, like, it makes no sense.
Yep.
His music too, that boggles the mind. I was about to mention it before. Like, you had Bask in My Glory, people would sing along with the theme song. They would chant it after the bell rang, and you change it to some generic Jim Johnson created monotone, no lyrical theme song. It made no sense.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of Chris Jericho,
that's not exactly true, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, we can have that argument all day, and that's for conversation for another time. But let's get through the news here. Jericho opened up on his health issues last year when he was in the UK with Fozzy. So this was kind of on everybody's mind. He was battling some mystery health issues. He had opened up on Talk is Jericho this last week. He had said he kept it secret in the sense, obviously, that he acknowledged there were significant health issues, but didn't say what it was. All everybody knew up until this point was that it was a blood clot. On his show, he brought up it being a pulmonary embolism. He was feeling well and saw a doctor and had blood drawn. He said that the results came back pretty bad, and they said that he should not be going to. He was supposed to be making a date, being on the sideline for a football game, one of the soccer games in the UK, standing in the sideline, and they said, "Do not do this. Go directly to the hospital because you have a pulmonary embolism and you could die." So he said, what does that mean? It means your lungs are filled with blood clots and you are now staying in the hospital. They did an ultrasound, found there was evidence of a clot that had been in his throat. And he says if a clot got in his throat, he would be getting into stroke territory. He got more tests done, in and out of the hospital, back and forth with doctors, oxygen levels down. They had, I guess, flirted with the idea of giving him a breathing tube or put him on oxygen. He noted that he dropped a lot of weight. And the situation kept him out of the ring for about 10 weeks. And he said it led to the formation of the Jericho Appreciation Society and going heel. He noted he was having trouble breathing leading up to this, decided to see specialists in the UK to turn his condition around, and was unable to fly home in time. So he was in the UK for about 10 weeks awaiting to get better. So we get shedding some light on the situation because Jericho was missing from TV.
I didn't realize he was off the TV for 10 weeks.
Yeah. And he came back and looked like $1 million because he dropped all that weight.
Yeah, he did. He looked bloated. He didn't look healthy before. So, a little change of lifestyle will help anyone.
Yeah, scary moment too, because Chris Jericho has the longevity of being in the ring, but you go to the doctor, get checked up. If you feel like something's not right, go to the 100%. Doctor. And you know your body better than anybody else.
If he wasn't in the shape that he was, who knows what happens.
Absolutely.
Thank God he was in ring shape and still wrestling. And so, like you said, my wife always preaches that if you think something's wrong, your body better than anyone else. Like if you feel something's wrong, it probably is. Go to the doctor, get it checked.
100%. Before we move on from the news, I'll give you guys the updated cards for the next couple of weeks or the next week and a half. AEW Rampage for Friday. We have announced matches Hangman and John Silver versus Butcher and the Blade. They just shot a little angle there. As they said, a Rampage commercials, they say on the flagship. Lee Moriarty versus Dante Martin. Dr. Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter are in action against two jobbers. We have a rap battle with Max Caster and Austin Gunn. And finally, we have Jay Lethal and the returning Christopher Daniels. Seeing Chris Daniels in the ring on Rampage.
Yeah.
Pretty excited about that.
Christopher Daniels pop up every so often. So he popped up when they originally bought Ring of Honor for Bryan Danielson. So it'll be the first time since that we've actually seen him in the ring. So I think it's like the second time in a year. So it's nice to see him still making appearances.
I love it. He's still in great shape, still able to go. Next week for Dynamite, we have another special event. It's Fight for the Fallen, which will air July 27th. And we have two matches announced. We have the AEW Women's World Championship, Thunder Rosa versus Miyu Yamashita, who obviously got the win. We talked about it last week. She had an eliminator match in Japan against Thunder Rosa, beat Thunder Rosa on AEW Dark where it aired. And we also have the FTW Championship, Ricky Starks versus Danhausen. How are you feeling about Danhausen getting a title shot? It's not an official title.
I mean, the more Danhausen I get on my TV, the happier I'm going to be. So I was happy. You'll see when I get to my top 3 list.
Hell yeah. And then you guys, again, we will preview Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor tomorrow, 7 p.m. Honor Society in the Turnbuckle Tavern. I'll go through the whole card. They did announce some new matches, but you know what? Leave you guys on a teaser. Tune in tomorrow if you want to hear some of my takes on Honor Society. But that's all I have for the news.
That's it. And yes, I did. And again, I did get a Mox figure today. I hope you did too. And again, guys, if you don't know, if you're not watching on Twitch, if you watch us on Twitch, you have a shot to win this AEW shop exclusive Kenny Omega. Watch on Twitch and comment there, guys. That's all you have to do to enter. Every time you do it for a different show, you're going to get another entry into the contest. And just stay there and keep chatting there because that will help us tremendously. So let's get on to our top 3 list.
Yo! Listen! Yo!
So, all right, Ace, let's start with your number 3. What is your number 3 moment from this week in All Elite Wrestling?
All right, so my number 3 was the Blackpool Combat Club, the team of Jon Moxley and Wheeler Yuta defeating Best Friends, which was the team of Trent Beretta and Chuck Taylor. Thought this was a really fun match. It was nice to see Jon Moxley teaming with Wheeler Yuta and not somebody else, like the combination of Claudio and Wheeler or Danielson, who's out of action. But Moxley is the world champion, teaming with Yuta against a team like Best Friends. It was a fun match. The right team won. It's also nice to see Best Friends back in action as well. I know we were seeing Roppongi Vice for a bit. The fact that Chuck Taylor is back, there was some rumor that he wouldn't be here. I think the tag division's better to have Best Friends in it. So this was a really fun match, a very solid tag match, undercard for the tag division.
Yeah, I like that match, and you'll see how much I liked it in just a little bit. So my number 3 is going to be, first of all, I love the fact that Ricky Starks is bringing back the open challenge. But then when Danhausen came out at the end, I popped. I love that Ricky Starks was all ready to take on another challenger. And when he saw it was Danhausen, he was like, no, I didn't say it was going to be right now. Totally went back on his word. So it gives a little more credence to Danhausen being a viable threat to him. So, and I'm looking forward to that match next week. I want to see what Danhausen's got to show in a singles match, since the only other singles match he's had was that terrible one against Tony Nese.
That's right.
On Rampage. So look for that to be made up here. It should be a fun match. Ricky Starks is gold. Let's see what these two could do when they get in a ring together and dance.
Do you think there's a chance that they put the FTW title on him? I know the FTW title, they've been hyping it up. There's only been 4 champions in the history of it. It's an unofficial title, but it's been Taz, Sabu, Brian Cage, Ricky Starks. Do you think Danhausen has a chance to win this, or is this just giving us false
I
hope?
hope so, because it would give a little more credence to the title if somebody actually loses it and wins it now, because, it was only when Brian Cage lost it to Ricky Starks to keep it in Taz's family. Let it get out of there. Let's see what happens. Let's make it fun. You can see Danhausen celebrating like he just won a world championship. I think it'll be a lot of fun if they let him win it. So.
I mean, it was treated like a world championship back in ECW. It was one of the highest ranking titles, and Taz used to carry it around like it was the world championship. So it would be a big deal. But just a note on Ricky Starks, there was some hinting at a face turn here. And I know that he was doing the challenge after him having already the open challenge. So there was like a hint of that. And then he obviously turned down Danhausen, but then he was slapping hands and shaking hands as on his way to the back. T's going into the face tunnel. So I think we may be seeing a Ricky Starks face turn. I don't want to see him lose that edge, but I think there's a way that he can hug the line of being a face, but with an edge to him, one of those like anti-heroes. I see a lot of a young Rock in him. The charisma is off the charts. Unbelievable presence in the ring. Once his music hits, I think assessing a person or a team in general, I think about FTR, when the first chord of their music hits, that they're over. Ricky Starks, at the first chord of his music hits, and then obviously everybody knows he's coming out and he gets a huge, huge pop. For someone who came in not that long ago in an open challenge himself against Cody Rhodes for the TNT title, for what he's made himself, from NWA Power all the way now, Team Taz, great matches, broken neck in the middle of the ring, and now he's sitting here on the precipice of becoming one of those breakthrough stars. I see him as a future pillar, a future world champion, and I can't wait to see what the future holds. And you know what? You might have to get the FTW title off of him to let him do what else he's going to do.
I agree. I think this guy is going to be a star for the next 20 years. So he's so good.
Got to stay healthy.
Yeah. Well, I think he will. I hope.
All right. My number 2, I have the Barbed-Wire Everywhere match with Chris Jericho and Eddie Kingston. I have my criticisms of this match. Mostly the picture-in-picture that they decided to do. I don't know why they do this. They saved only about 15 minutes for the match, including entrances. So by the time they got started, there was about 12 minutes. And then 2 minutes in, they do the picture-in-picture. And then there's a lot of different action going on. I think Jericho got continually busted open during the commercial break. So you're watching on a small little screen. Not ideal. They did this during Blood and Guts. Not a fan of it. So if you have the Fight TV feed, be grateful, because if you had to watch in picture-in-picture, it sucked. But there was a lot of chaos in this match, and good chaos and also bad chaos. I thought it was everything you probably could have wanted out of this match. A lot of blood and guts on TV. But there was some bad spots here, if we're being honest with ourselves. A lot of awkward transitions. Eddie Kingston and Chris Jericho had a good match back, a couple months ago on pay-per-view. But this was not one of them. And I know it's barbed wire on the rope, so it's hard to do the technical style wrestling you really want to do. But go through all the spots that need to happen. You had Ty Conti trying to open the cage. She can't get the fucking key into the lock.
The key to the wrestler.
And then they make a mockery of it. This was like some sort of botchamania shit where they go through the middle of the cage. And then at the end too, Sammy comes back. He's trying to avoid getting hit with the swinging fist from Eddie. He's exchanging punches with Jericho because he's supposed to run into him. It was an absolute mess. And it all boils down to They rushed themselves. Cut out one of these other matches. There's no reason to do this Jade match. Give the main event time to breathe. If you have to do an extended segment at the end where you're selling Jericho, like if you have an extra 10 minutes for this match, you could have really let breathe and sell that. It doesn't have to. There's a lot of rest spots in this match. You can actually lay outside the ring. You can set up things with the weapons, and there's a lot more you could have done. Save that Jade match, even though it was pretty good. I love seeing Jade on TV, but save that match for Rampage. If you have a main event like this, you can't only give it 15 minutes with entrances, especially you're hanging people above the ring in a cage. It just, you knew it was going to be trouble.
I agree. And you know what? We're seeing just how smart Ty Conti is. At the pay-per-view, she's trying to, Blood and Guts, she's trying to push a bottle of peroxide through the thing. You see it getting spiked and leaking all over. She can't figure out how to open a lock. Poor Ty Conti.
You know what? She was nervous. Like, you ever tried, like, you're doing something, but you're under the pressure of the clock, and like the time limit is there. You know that those guys, JAS has to get in the ring to cause the conflict and have, to lead the spot and break up the pinfall. So Ty Conti's pressured. She eventually just hands the keys over and panics, and like they pull the camera off. I felt bad, but also it's like, I don't know, maybe just figure something else out. I don't know. It was just very, very sloppy.
What'd you think of the Anna Jay turn?
I like it. I mean, it's okay. I like them together.
Yeah.
I got to see where the rest of the story goes. I'm not gonna poo-poo the idea. Ruby being booked this way is very interesting to me because she's been booked as this obviously underdog since she's been here. I wanted her to be at the top of the card as far as they need a main event woman. Obviously, she hasn't been that for them. And I know she got a title shot very early on in her existence here in AEW, but I don't know. I mean, they're booking Ruby the same way they're booking Adam Cole, like a geek. And it's very puzzling to me.
There's a bunch of former WWE people who come over that got stuck in this bubble that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, Ruby's good in the ring, and I think she's a perfect TNT challenger. Eventually, when you get that title off Jade and put the world title on her, she'd be perfect for that. But yeah, I completely agree.
Yep. So we'll see where it goes. It's kind of interesting because I just wonder. It seems like they're keeping that team of Ty Conti and Anna Jay together, another women's tag team. I'm just kind of curious. I feel like they're starting to set a pace for the women's tag team division.
And also, how many times does Sammy return in this capacity? Like, he's done this. I mean, I'd have to go back and look at the official numbers. It's like he comes back dressed as Fuego del Sol. He came out dressed as another lucha. He makes these appearances at all times. And like, I actually realized he's not in the cage. And then when Ty came out, I just completely expected him to come out when Eddie was about to get the win. Because I first of all knew Jericho wasn't losing his Painmaker. There's no way he was losing his Painmaker. And you knew that Sammy had to come out. So I was just waiting for it to happen.
Did you, I hadn't even noticed he hadn't been on TV since the pay-per-view until they said it tonight. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess he hasn't been. So
yeah, I honestly thought he was coming out to sit in the cage. I just thought when they showed the overshot of them, because again, they rushed the entrance. Yeah. He wasn't in there. I'm like, oh no, that's not him. That's Daniel Garcia wearing board shorts.
Yeah, that makes too much sense. So for my number 2, what do I have for my number 2? I have the return of Jungle Boy. Finally. And I'm happy to see Jungle Boy back, but I was a little disappointed that we saw Luchasaurus turn on Christian.
Me too.
So soon. I was loving this heel version of Luchasaurus, and if all it took, like, it just makes no sense. All it took was Jungle Boy coming back for him to turn. Like, I mean, maybe there'll be some sort of explanation as it comes down the line. Maybe he still turns on him. Who knows what happens? It just was too quick for my liking. I love this version of Luchasaurus. I didn't want to see this end yet. So
I completely agree with you. I thought the same thing. I thought it really made no sense. We never really got the reason why he even turned on Jungle Boy in the first place. What did Christian whisper to him? We never heard that.
Yeah.
I would have liked some closure on that, but then having him just turn his back on Christian so quickly. I mean, if you're a friend, you're looking at, like, for Jungle Boy, is he really going to trust him now? Like, he was doing the dirty work for Christian while he's gone. Like, what kind of friend is in kayfabe? What kind of friend is Luchasaurus if he's flippy floppy like this?
Yeah, doesn't make sense. I like the beast, the scary version of Luchasaurus.
I would have saved the Jungle Boy return for the pay-per-view. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a problem with it being tonight. I guess he really wasn't injured. If he was injured, it wasn't as bad as people made it out to be. So everybody's saying he's out with a serious injury.
Are we to assume, and obviously it's going to be Christian versus Jungle Boy at All Out? Are they going to wait until September to put that through?
I hope so. It seems like one of the stories. Like, always seems like there's a story that's built from the end of one pay-per-view to the next one, and to me, it seems like this is that story right now.
Yeah, we got classic match class from here. I think this is Young Anthony in here.
This is Young Anthony.
The Luchasaurus turn was way too soon. If Saurus is back with Jungle Boy, it's done with him. The heel version was the perfect spot for him. Completely agree.
We definitely agree there. And why aren't you on Twitch, Young Anthony?
There was talk on the flagship. There was talk on Honor Society about what is done with Jurassic Express and what happens with specifically Luchasaurus when that team is broken up. And we never even considered having that strong heel turn where he's like this modern day Kane wearing the mask and having this like the fire and brimstone behind him. And it worked so perfectly in that short time. Maybe it was a test run to see if people would take to it, because I know there's a piece of Tony Khan that has to like the kid friendly piece of Luchasaurus at media and autograph signings.
I've compared him to the Kane. I've said it on some of these shows. I don't remember if it was on here or in Sessions that he reminded me of Kane when he first debuted. Like, let go with that for a while. Like, I felt like there was going to be an unmasking eventually, which would have led to even more possibilities with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's just a shame that if they've dropped the ball with it and stopped it already. They did. I'm totally disappointed because I was never the biggest Luchasaurus fan. I didn't give a crap about him. Like, I thought it was stupid, but then they won me over when he came out like that with the new entrance. So we'll see.
I mean, there's nothing more Kane than consistently having people turn on you and you turn on people. If you think about 90s Kane, he was in the corporation. He was with X-Pac. He was China turned on him. Tori Wilson turned on him. Like everyone was turning on Kane, and then go further back too. Like he was friends with Taker, and they were good friends or tagging. And then, talks about him killing his parents. Like Kane's all over the place. So Luchasaurus following in the same footsteps as Kane.
Yeah, that's so true. All right. What's your number one moment of the week?
Number one moment of the week was a match here, and is Lee Moriarty versus Ring of Honor World Champion Jonathan Gresham on Rampage. So
I did see that.
This was a really cool moment where we had John Gresham as a heel. And I think this was a much needed thing for John Gresham to bring some interest into his character. He's just been one of those, he's on the card. He's a great wrestler. He's holding the championship belt, but there's no depth to the character. You put Tully behind him and add Brian Cage and the Gates of Agony behind him, it makes him even more of an interesting character. And I'm very much looking forward to the main event at Death Before Dishonor with Claudio. Cue the, hold on, I got it queued up. The match with Claudio, because I think a big piece of what was missing is making John Gresham feel like a main event star. So, I think.
Can we talk Claudio, please?
Claudio, excuse me, pardon me.
Amazing job. That's the reason why I put it here. But I love John Gresham. Do I think he's losing the championship? And I'll talk about this on Honor Society. There has been hints that they spoiled the main event of this match with dark taping. So stay tuned for that tomorrow on Honor Society. I'll give you guys the full scoop on that. So a little teaser. But I love this match. Lee Moriarty getting a little rub here. I would love to see Lee Moriarty get some shine in Ring of Honor, because I think that talent has no chance right now of breaking through on AEW, and Ring of Honor is the perfect spot to do so. So I love this match. I really enjoyed it on Rampage. It gave me a reason to tune in.
Yeah, I agree. I like that match too. So my number one moment of the week was Brody King versus Darby Allin, and Brody King going over, and that whole thing at the end, getting the House of Black. Seems like they're going to be on RTV a little more. Seems, with the Miro coming out, where that's starting to build, which probably going to lead to a Malachi versus Miro match at All Out, I would hope. I would think, who knows, because you got Sting involved too, so I'm not really sure which way it's going to go, but it's fun to see House of Black on our TV. Now, here's my question for you, Ace. Do you know anything about this? Where's Buddy Matthews?
Buddy Matthews was in Australia, and he's battling an injury since he was wrestling in Australia. He's banged up since he was in that Australia show that our friend Nick Storm was at.
I see. Now, apparently, though, I heard he was injured before that, and then he popped up there, and we've seen promos with House of Black without him. Is he still with AEW? Is he still with House of Black? I know I'm just throwing this out there, but I want to know. I kind of feel like he's not there anymore.
I mean, we'll stay tuned for it. I didn't hear anything that he wasn't, and I'd be very disappointed if he wasn't part of House of Black, because he's a huge part of their appeal.
I loved him in WWE as Buddy Murphy. I thought he was one of the brightest young talents on the roster. I loved his matches with Aleister Black. Every time they wrestled, like on a pre-show for a pay-per-view or on Raw.
Oh yeah, highlight of 2020 Raw.
Yeah,
amazing.
100%. They were freaking great. So this guy has so much to offer. So I hope he's just injured. I mean, I don't want the guy to be injured, but I hope he's not done with AEW.
I was trying to clip from the June 1st wrap-up show when I was on here, and Miro had just returned.
Yeah.
And I was talking about him potentially joining House of Black. It seems like we're going to get the feud between House of Black, which I think you had said you want to see him feud with House of Black because there's not enough heavy people to go against House of Black. You don't want too many strong characters on one side of the fence. But I don't know, man. It felt very, very... I don't know if you notice his glasses. He had one light glass and one dark glass. And it seemed like they were hinting potentially that you would have Miro join forces. And the other interesting part about all this, Miro aside, was Sting was misted. And when people get misted, something happens with their character. We saw Pac change. He became that whatever character. I mean, Julia Hart turned heel. So maybe we see a different version of Sting. Maybe we see different face paint.
Maybe Sting comes back out as Surface Sting next week.
He turns it. He gets the actual whatever the haircut, the G.I. Joe haircut that's like bleach blonde. I'm here for that shit.
What? No way. No way. I like House of Black where they are. Let Miro challenge them.
But that's what I'm saying with like Anthony's quote there. Go back to June 1st. I had said it, and everyone.
I remember the promo.
But everyone in this room, in the wrap-up show, was like, I don't want to see Miro anywhere come close. He doesn't fit the aesthetic. Because at the time, it was dark, ominous characters with tattoos, because Brody had just joined, and it felt like it had to be a specific aesthetic. But I think you could do it right if you make Miro this dark character. He doesn't have to be tattooed. Obviously, Buddy's not tattooed.
Yeah.
No one's scarier on the roster when Miro's a bad guy. I think you could really turn up the heat on him. And who's beating that fucking team?
Yeah. I just rather see him fight them. I think they could have some great matches. Maybe after they're done fighting, then maybe he gets recruited over there.
Well, go back and watch the promo again and look at the glasses. It might have just been the lighting in the arena.
Oh, his glasses were definitely two different colors. I noticed.
Yeah, one lens was dark, one
100%.
lens was light. And I don't think that was intentional.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. So we'll see. Like, we haven't seen him without the glasses since the match, have we?
Yeah,
when
and
he was another promo.
He was never misted either. So I'd be curious if they start to bring that into effect. So stay tuned for potentially Sting coming out as having an edge. Maybe, I don't know, man. I think that'd be really interesting to do something with Sting. I don't think Sting and Darby has run its course yet. I'm still loving that. Yeah. But it would be very fucking interesting to have Sting have this edge to him one last time in his career. He's always been a good guy, let's be honest. But to have a weird edge to him, like I know we saw Joker Sting in TNA. He has different sides of this character that he can bring out.
100%. 100%. It'll be fun and curious to see where it goes. So let's go on. Let's see. Where's the drop for our match of the week? Why can't I find it? I guess I need to label some of these a little better.
There's a couple you could use for it.
Oh, here we go. You ready?
It's time for the main event.
Or since we were talking about Sting.
It's showtime, folks.
There you go. So what do you got as your match of the week, Ace?
Man, this was a very easy choice. It's very hard most weeks, but this was, I mean, right out the gate, I knew it was the match of the week. It was Brody versus Darby Allin. And this was a clinic on how to do a monster heel versus a face in peril. Nobody in the business bumps like Darby Allin. He makes everything look painful because you know what? It is painful. Yeah. Some of those suicide dives, he puts his all into it. The cannonball splashes that Brody was giving to him. You know these guys are friends because they're going out there and they're absolutely laying in everything that's going in there. And we talk about it all the time during these matches. And you can even talk about the barbed wire match. Some of those shots were pulled. Like you watched Jericho hitting Kingston with the chair with the barbed wire. It seemed weak. It was like you and your friends in the backyard pretending to hit each other with the chair. Go and watch that first match with Brody and Darby. Those slaps to the chest, him throwing him around. He was ragdolling him in the ring. Everything about this match is what I like about wrestling. And to top it off, it was the icing on the cake. Brody went over too. So it shows they're taking this push seriously. They're recognizing they have something in Brody King to make him this monster heel. And I had said this weeks ago during that first, he won the Royal Rampage and they went on to challenge John Moxley for the championship and brought him to the limit. He could be this modern day Vader, Bam Bam Bigelow. AEW needs this big guy. He needs big guys on their roster because there isn't that heavy type of guy. And I think at the same time, we need bigger guys on the roster to make these faces have someone to fight that is fucking dangerous. And like Vader gave that to WCW, Bam Bam gave that to WWF. AEW needs someone like that.
And you know what? Then eventually you build it up and you don't have it happen quickly, but eventually you get to a Keith Lee versus Brody King and you have the battle of the big men and everybody's looking forward to it since they've never really touched each other. Like you tease it a little bit in the battle royal or something, make the fans clamor for it.
What's really interesting too is when you watch the booking of AEW and WWE compared, Tony Khan's willing to pivot. Like we watched Matt Riddle have that match against Roman Reigns. It popped a huge rating. And I'm not saying Brody and Moxley did a good rating, but people responded positively to it on social media. Everybody liked the decision to put a new person in the main event just for a sec, see how it felt. And with Riddle, everyone responded so well to him. And WWE's response to it, put him on Raw, have him get squashed by Omos.
Yeah.
AEW's response is double down on Brody King, have him beat Darby Allin on Dynamite in a big spot. It just shows that one company is willing to be progressive in the way they think and be like, you know what, this wasn't what we planned, but people are responding a certain way. He's getting organic reactions. And the other company's like, this is what we had planned. We don't give a shit how people react to it. We're going to go in this direction because you know what? We're smarter than you. We know what you would like. And you know, then you have Fed brain. That's what you have.
That's the thing that frustrates me the most with WWE. You have stuff getting over organically and you don't give it. You try to dictate what you think people want compared to what they're telling you they want. And you're never going to get higher ratings when you don't listen to what the people want.
I think
it's a shame.
One of the things, and I never really thought about this, and it's the most simple thing. I think someone put it in words on social media or wherever on some podcast, might have been on the Tavern, but someone was talking about why we don't have WWE fans hijacking shows and why is there no clamoring for new guys to get over? Why do the crowds just acquiesce to what's going on in the arena? And it's because all those fans are in AEW getting what they want. Those that are watching WWE, that are paying to sit in that giant 4-hour infomercial that's known as Raw, they're fed brain. I mean, they're going to eat the shit that's shoveled in their mouth week after week and not care about anything else. And they're going to defend it to the death. They're going to be WWE lifers and they don't care. So you're never going to have situations where people are going to revolt on the show because those fans have an option now. I'm not sitting through Raw because there's no other option. I don't have to watch Raw anymore. I can watch Dynamite and get my nationally televised wrestling elsewhere.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful part. But, you know, WWE's suffering for it because the fans are just sitting there and taking it. Riddle, who could be a transcendent star, Theory, who could be a transcendent star, the booking's not aligned with that now. So
I feel like right now the booking might actually be aligned with that, maybe again because it's so many people are hurt there too that these guys are getting their chance. We'll see what happens at SummerSlam with Theory.
But Theory, the thing is, he's Money in the Bank winner, and he loses every week on Raw. Like their idea of getting a guy over is by beating him to death.
Yeah, he hasn't lost cleanly though.
If he still loses, like think about guys in the past that are being built to be world champion. You protect him at all costs.
When you go by WWE standards, this is just what happens, and then he'll win the title. So
here we go, right here. A quote right here: "WWE is not for wrestling fans." You're right.
It is not wrong. Like I said, I still watch it. Again, I said this somewhere in the last week, and I'll say it again. When I want to watch pro wrestling, I watch AEW. When I want to watch sports entertainment, I watch WWE, and I enjoy them both. Obviously, I enjoy AEW much more, but I still go in for my WWE fix. I watch Raw every week. I watch the pay-per-views. I will skim through SmackDown. I work on Friday nights, so I don't really go back and watch it, but I'll look for the highlights on Twitter and stuff. So, but yeah, it's more of my sports entertainment break. Like I've watched WWE for 40 years. I'm not going to stop now, but when I really like Wednesday nights, I have to be watching Dynamite. So I definitely enjoy it more at this point.
When you go into watching Raw or SmackDown with that mindset, or even these premier live events, Money in the Bank, SummerSlam, and you have the idea of you're expecting it to be WWE style booking and match quality, I'm sports entertained. I enjoy myself because I don't have this high standard of I'm not expecting to see the 5-star classics. And if you get them, you do sometimes. Like we got Seth Rollins putting on a clinic some weeks, or we get the Usos having a great match against the Street Profits, which steals the show. Yeah, those matches still exist, but it's the outlier now.
If you look at the premium live events since WrestleMania, WWE's put on 3 very solid events in those events. Like if you really want to enjoy WWE for wrestling, just watch the premium live events, because that's when you're going to get your one night of the actual full night of wrestling, and not like only 17 minutes of wrestling, which appears to happen on SmackDown and stuff like that. But because you know what, at the end, the wrestlers in WWE still work their heart out and want to be there and want to entertain, and they want to be good, and it shows on those nights on the premium live events. So
absolutely, and I do enjoy. If you want your WWE fix, I mostly get my WWE news from the Raw Down. Great fucking show put on here on the Tavern. You guys do an excellent job. Young Anthony, Marco, you're on there sometimes, Tom, as the champ, but you are the champ, so we got to respect it. It is an absolute blast to hear the news and all that, but the issue with WWE is you don't have to watch every minute. You mentioned it. You're in front of your TV for 2 hours on Wednesday, no matter what. Yep. Monday, 100%. Read the results, watch the YouTube clips, you still have a grip of what's going on because it is an infomercial.
Yep.
Not that we wanted to break into a WWE conversation, but
no, it was fair. Fair. Did I say what my main event was yet? My number.
You did not. That's a perfect segue.
All right. So my match of the week, I'm going to go a little different than you. Trent Beretta and Chuck Taylor against Jon Moxley and Wheeler Yuta. I mean, anytime I'm getting Moxley and Yuta in a match together, I'm loving everything they do. And that was just a great tag team match. I loved it. I thought it was a good match. That was my wrestling match of the week.
Yeah, man. Moxley giving Wheeler the rub, man. And I also saw this funny clip too, and has something to do with Blackpool Combat Club. For some reason, in Claudio Castagnoli's video, whatever you want to call it, Titantron, when he comes out to the ring, it's all his logos, him doing some like uppercuts, and there's one inexplicable picture of Wheeler Yuta, all bloodied up for no reason. No picture of Danielson, no picture of Moxley, none of William Regal, just a picture of Wheeler Yuta, all bloodied up in this video.
That's pretty funny.
I have an eye for that stuff.
So that's hysterical. But yeah, I think that wraps us up for the week. Anything else before we sign off of here, Ace?
So guys, we do have many more big shows here on the Tavern coming up this week. Of course, like I mentioned before, Honor Society, we will be previewing Death Before Dishonor, which will be on July 23rd this weekend. So make sure you guys check out the pay-per-view. If you don't, we will be previewing it, and we will be going over the results next Thursday as well. So if you don't watch it, you'll get all your fix here, but support the product. I think you should. Also, Friday, Shot of Nostalgia. We are a week away from doing the Bash at the Beach episode where we'll have Matt from Extra Cooler joining us. This week, we have 2 episodes of Nitro that will get us there. It is the go-home show before Bash at the Beach, before we get that infamous Hulk Hogan heel turn. So we're right in the mix of the best month of 1996. This is the reason why we're watching it. The tide is changing. It's a lot of fun. Check it out. And also make sure that on Friday, after we're done with Shot of Nostalgia, stay tuned for Before Our Time, WrestleMania 2. Young Anthony, Nick Storm will be checking out and going over everything. The presentation's amazing, giving their takes on everything going on at that time. It's such an interesting perspective on the show because everything that they are doing is they're taking it from the eyes of someone born many years after the show aired. And WrestleMania 2 was given some bad reviews throughout the history of wrestling. I'm curious to see what they say. Live from 3 cities is an interesting concept. We obviously get a boxing match, which was controversial. With Roddy Piper wasting one of his prime years in wrestling with a boxing match. Hulk Hogan and Big King Kong Bundy. Some good stuff on the card overall, but being in 3 cities, what was your memories of WrestleMania 2? Did you like it in 1986, or was it something you were like,
I like it in 1986. You remember Hogan being beaten up by Bundy and his ribs were broken, so he's going into WrestleMania 2.
Big Blue Cage too.
In the Big Blue Cage. I think that was the premiere of the Big Blue Cage. I think that was the first time we actually saw it.
It might have been.
So I'm pretty sure that was the first time we saw it. So yeah, like it was like so what year would that have been, WrestleMania 2?
1986.
So 1986, so I was 11. So yeah, as a little kid, I loved it. I couldn't wait to see if Hogan was going to win, because as a little kid at that point, you think, oh my God, is this guy going to beat Hogan? Trying to remember the whole card. I remember the Battle Royal that took place in Chicago that had NFL players in it.
Yeah, it was the three main events. It was the Piper T, which was on Long Island here, my hometown, Nassau Coliseum.
Nassau Coliseum. And then you got the finals to that Battle Royal. Andre the Giant's in there with the Hart Foundation. So Bret Hart was in the ring with Andre the Giant. So
and smashing the trophy too, famously.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, there's so many things I remember from that. I remember Roddy Piper and Mr. T and the cluster fuck that match was. I think Randy Savage fought at WrestleMania 2, didn't he?
He had to. I would.
Yeah, I think he was there by then. I think Jake the Snake fought George Wells. And he was foaming at the mouth when the snake went around him. George Wells, another former NFL player. There we go. Now we get young Anthony showing up on Twitch. Oh, no, I mean Tyson. What am I saying?
Tyson.
Oh, Tyson just sneaks in at the end to claim his entry.
Yeah, Tyson.
Tyson, you got to watch the whole show, but you know what? I'm kidding. You do get your entry,
So Randy Savage wrestled George the Animal Steel for the IC title.
Sack, yes. That's the new name of their show. In my dad's sack while it was happening.
Amazing.
Oh man.
But guys, make sure you check that out. It's Nostalgia Fridays, Flashback Fridays. We're giving you guys 4 hours of great content on Fridays. Tune into the Tavern.
Did you check was Macho at WrestleMania 2?
What was that?
Was Macho Man at WrestleMania 2?
He wrestled George the Animal Steel for the IC title.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yes. I forgot. Now, what city was that in? Do you remember?
I don't know exactly what city that was in, but Long Island, I know the main events where they were. But as far
as
the other
guest commentators in each place, I think Vince McMahon was actually at the Nassau Coliseum.
It was an interesting concept.
Elvira was there. Remember, Elvira did the announcing the LA part of the show. So you had Elvira doing play-by-play or color commentary, I guess. So it was quite a fun show. Was it the best WrestleMania looking back at it? No, but as an 11-year-old kid, was it fun? Hell yeah. So
yeah, I mean, it was an interesting concept, and at the time, it was something that was new. You know what I mean? We look at it now like, oh, how could they do that? It was only the second one. They were trying to make it different than WrestleMania 1. So they were, how can we make it different? Let's do it in 3 different cities.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I wouldn't like it today, especially sitting in the stands. It would suck to have to watch the rest of it on the screen, but
yeah,
you know.
Can you imagine? But then back then, I don't do this anymore. I guess AEW does it in a little bit in movie theaters, but there was closed circuit places to go and watch WrestleMania 2. So all over the place. Like they were all over the place back then in New York anyway, where I grew up in Staten Island and New Jersey. I remember seeing how it was advertised everywhere. So if you wanted to see WrestleMania 2, because pay-per-view wasn't in everybody's house like it is now back then. You know, cable wasn't as widespread. I don't think I had cable for WrestleMania 2 yet. I remember going over to my friend's house who had the big satellite dish, not the little satellite dish, the guy who lived around the corner, and we watched it on that thing.
They should have you on an episode. Whatever your favorite WrestleMania is, they should have you on and have you give your insight on it.
WrestleMania 3, I think I'd probably pick.
So next week?
Yeah. I mean, WrestleMania 4 when Macho won the title was another favorite.
5 is so. I mean, those first 10 WrestleManias are can't miss. They're so good.
Yep. I agree. I definitely agree. Guys, do not forget theturnbuckletavern.com. Follow us everywhere you possibly can. All of our links are there to where you could stream, where you can follow us on social media. And if you haven't seen the bottom of our screen yet, the banner's been going across. We talked about it earlier. Watch all of our streaming shows. You got a bunch of opportunities between now and August 2nd. And even if it's Shot of Nostalgia, and even if it's in our dad's sack on Friday night, you comment on those shows on Twitch while you're watching it. I go back and I check the comments and I add your name right into my little spreadsheet.
He's taking notes, guys. He has his notepad. It's ready. He's writing your name down.
I have the spreadsheet. I've been updating it as I've seen people commenting here tonight. So make sure you're commenting on these shows. Get more entries. This figure is going for over $100 on eBay. Support us on Twitch. Help us become an affiliate, and you can win a Kenny Omega AEW shop exclusive at the same time. So,
and you get great content. You might get a free figure. You get to hear us talk about all these shows. What else do you want from the Tavern, guys? Buy a shirt. Go ahead and buy a shirt.
Yeah, go buy an OG Fit Kid shirt. Go buy a Ace of the Tavern shirt.
Buy it. We need a new Ace of the Tavern shirt because we changed the colors of Honor Society. So we need a red and black one instead.
Oh, there you go.
need an alternate. Or buy a shot of nostalgia shirt. That's my favorite shirt, bar none. The purple pops from Pro Wrestling Tees.
There you go. Go buy a shot of nostalgia shirt. There you go.
We got some other shirts here. You guys want a Mike Pelcaster shirt? We got, some other shirts that are, out here. We got the OG Fig Kid with the winged eagle. Come on, buy some shirts, guys.
That's a special winged eagle. You see who's on that?
Is that Macho Man on there?
Yeah.
That's your guy.
That's a Macho Man LJN figure on there, actually.
It needs to have Roddy Piper. That's your guy. That's truly your guy.
Macho and Piper are both my guys.
If you had to choose one, who would you choose, Tom?
It depends on a day.
What today? What today? You tell me today.
If I had to choose one, oh God, I hate this question because I love them both. Macho.
All right. You heard it here first. We'll ask him next week as well on the AW wrap-up show.
Yeah, I love both of those guys.
The hard-hitting questions here.
Those are my two favorite. It's so funny. After that, I have no idea who my number 3 is. I just love so many other people. All right, guys.
It's not Sammy Guevara. Let's just say that.
No, it's definitely not Sammy Guevara. Nothing against Sammy Guevara. But I guess till next week, guys, Mike Belcaster will be joining us. He'll be back next week. He'll also be on Shot and Nostalgia. He'll be on Sessions this week.
Happy Shark Week, everybody.
Going back, and we're looking at the second SummerSlam, guys. We're going to look at that main event of Hulk Hogan and Brutus the Barber Beefcake versus Randy Macho Man Savage and Zeus. So it's something you're not going to want to miss. You could always tell who picks out the theme of Sessions if it's me or Mike. If it's me, it probably involves Piper or Savage. If it's Mike, it's probably CM Punk, who I love too. Maybe CM Punk is my 3rd. That's actually probably who I'd put as my 3rd. So my 4th is probably where it would actually fall off. But Ace, who's your number 1 all time?
Oof, that's a really tough question. Bryan Danielson is my favorite wrestler of all time.
See, I love.
And legacy wise, Undertaker. He's the one that got me into wrestling.
Okay, those are I love Bryan Danielson's absolutely one of my favorites right now. He's probably him and Punk are my 2 favorites right now, no doubt.
And if I had to pick my favorite Taker match, if we're going down the rabbit hole here, SummerSlam 1997 against Bret Hart. It's my favorite Taker match.
I don't know if I have a favorite Taker match. I'm trying to think. I love those 4 years at WrestleMania with him versus.
So good. But I split them in 2 different eras for me. As a kid and then also as an adult. The Taker matches live in 2 different.
That makes
worlds
sense.
For me.
I get that. But you can't argue what the guy meant to the business. Never my favorite, but I have a hell of a lot of respect for him, especially after watching The Last Ride and seeing him open up about the character now. I love it. Absolutely love it. So
legend.
Yeah. So all right, guys. Until next week for Ace, it's Tom. Love, peace, and pro wrestling.